Hey everybody, welcome to Breakfast with Bob from Oceanside. Our host, the beautiful Mission Pacific Hotel. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by MasterSpas. SFuels go longer. HOKA Let's Fly, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, Premium Plus Sports, and of course our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, 2022 Ironman World Champion, Chelsea Sodaro. I bet that never gets old.
You know, it really doesn't. It's taken some time to get used to, but I think I'm embracing it and enjoying it, and it's such a thrill to be here with you.
So back in 2007, a young woman from the UK named Chrissy Wellington came to the Ironman, and she surprised. Nobody knew who she was. She wasn't wearing a visor or a hat, and she had logos sort of glued on. She blew everybody away. And I talked to her that evening, and she said, I understand how important this race is, and it's just given me a platform to try to empower young girls to get into sport. And it was funny because the light bulb went on for her right when she crossed the finish line. I have something more important than just racing. And you are that same person. You have decided right from the very beginning of this that you're going to make a difference. And talk a little bit about what you're doing.
Thanks, Bob. That's so kind. Chrissy is obviously an icon, and to have my name mentioned in the same sentence as her is something that is, you know, beyond words, really.
Wow.
She's such an icon. You know, I have been talking about these things like maternal health and women's rights, but now people are listening, and it won't be forever. These careers are not very long,
right.
But I have this moment in time now where some people care what I have to say, and I am a mission-driven person. I come from a family of service-minded people. My dad was a high school teacher. My mom is a doctor. My brother is a special tactics officer in the Air Force, and my husband is a firefighter. So I am surrounded by these people that are constantly giving back to their communities.
Yes.
And triathlon can be a super selfish pursuit. It can be all about us and our training and our schedules. And while that's still something that, you know, our life kind of revolves around with me, I do feel very mission driven to make a difference in my community.
Well, talk a little bit about Moms Demand Action.
Absolutely. So this weekend, I will be donating all of my prize money to an organization called Moms Demand Action, which is a grassroots organization working on gun reform and gun safety measures in this country. There was just another school shooting on Monday. It's a horrific tragedy that continues to happen over and over and over again. Guns are the #1 killer of our children, and condolences are no longer enough. So I'm hoping to create a little bit more awareness, to donate whatever money I win this weekend to help make things safer for our kids.
I mean, a parent shouldn't be thinking when they put their kid on a bus in the morning that they might not ever see them again. That is scary stuff.
Absolutely. You know, as you know, I am a mom, and I have a lot of friends with young kids, and the fact that they're thinking that, you know, that goodbye in the morning when they send their kids off to school, maybe the last one, is just unfathomable. And school should be such a safe, sacred sanctuary, not a place of terror.
It's interesting. Years ago, when we had the Columbine shooting, one of the young men who was shot in that, he was out at our CAF San Diego Triathlon Challenge because he was paralyzed from the waist down. And that is something that he will carry with him for the rest of his life, is the fact that he went to school one day to learn and ended up paralyzed for the rest of his life. It's scary stuff, and I appreciate what you're doing. This whirlwind of, you know, winning the Ironman World Championship. I'm sure that you knew it was an important event, but you probably didn't quite understand the scope of how important the event is, how it changes lives.
Absolutely. I don't think I really understood how much it would change my life and my family's life until probably a couple months ago, maybe. It's really been a super busy time, and I thought that I would kind of finish the race and go on vacation and check out from triathlon for the rest of the year. But it was quite busy, and it's all good things. I have so many incredible new partners that I'm working with. Canyon is here this weekend. On is here. A host of amazing people that I get to work with, and it's a really fun phase. I think it's kind of like triathlon career 2.0 now.
Well, and it's funny, the other conversation that I had with Sophie Watts and with a couple other of the women today who dealt with stress fractures throughout their college careers and had been healthy in high school and then just had stress fracture or other issues. Planner for Tamara Jewett, an awful planner, laid up for 18 months, having to get into swimming and the next thing you know, they're great triathletes. And one of the conversation points was, should there be more cross-training in college for runners so that they do have other options and to avoid injuries?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there have been some amazing books that have come out recently from Lauren Fleshman in particular, Good for a Girl, that really discusses how these systems are not designed for women.
Yes, that's a great
point.
We're
recruited, into college as like adolescent women going through puberty and still developing, and puberty is quite different for women. Sometimes we get slower and our bodies change in significant ways, whereas men just kind of get better and better and better.
Right.
We oftentimes have this little dip, and I think that happens for a lot of track athletes, especially like distance runners. Early in college, and we're just not given the time and space to develop properly. If maybe we had more things like cross training and proper education on nutrition and mental health and all of these things that would help us navigate this period a little bit better, I think that we'd have a lot more high level women competing post collegiately and maybe coming over to our side of things here in triathlon.
Dark side.
Exactly.
I like it. When you have athletes who are they're running 30, 40 miles a week in high school, and all of a sudden it's 80, 90, and like you said, your body's changing in different ways in guys' bodies. It's not one size fits all. You need to be able to adapt to the athletes, which I don't think has happened over. And it seems like the system has gone on and on and on, and more people are injured throughout. The other side of it for me is if you're a coach, you're thinking about getting that next job. So if you have someone who's a star, you're going to run them in every relay. You're going to run them in everything you can, and you can burn those people out. That's hard too.
Right. It's a tricky system because, of course, coaches at the NCAA level are incentivized based on performance rather than health. Do we graduate still loving the sport? And so maybe, like Lauren and people like Kara Goucher have discussed, maybe there could be other incentives for coaches rather than just like the performances that you're getting out of people as freshmen and sophomores in college. Perhaps there is a better way. And it is not one size fit all. It's not one size fit all for men and women. It's for each individual athlete. And that can be really hard to manage when you're managing a team of 30, 40, 50 people. I was really lucky with incredible support during college from my coaches at Cal and from Magdalena Boulay, who was my coach when I started there and my coach post-collegiately, and from my husband, Steve, who just saw this little brightness in me and encouraged me to keep on pursuing it even when things were not going well, and then really encouraging me when things started to turn the corner.
What was the lowest point for you during there's numerous points, I'm sure, where you were ready to go, okay, I'm moving on, I'm not doing this anymore?
I mean, there have been so many iterations of my career at this point. Of course, those years when I was injured at Cal were super challenging, and then I kind of got it together and had some success immediately after college, and then was injured again and moved to triathlon and, raced on the ITU circuit, but almost quit the sport a year and a half in because I just wasn't enjoying the lifestyle. I wasn't enjoying just like chasing the calendar of races around the world and not being around the people that I love. And of course, I've been really open about my challenges after having my daughter. There have been some really dark times. And I probably quit triathlon like 12 times last season, but luckily I have an amazing support team who encourages me, and they just keep on saying like, just give it a try.
Just see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
So this season, you had your off season, which really wasn't an off season because all this great stuff was happening.
Yes.
But now there's a target on your back. You're the Ironman World Champion. Every race you go to, people are gonna be like, okay, we know that Chelsea is there, and we've got to make sure we neutralize her. We got to make sure we attack on the bike, and we got to get away. I'm sure you're ready for that this year.
Sure. And, I'm the Ironman World Champion. I'm not the 70.3 World Champion or the PTO World Champion. My, true passion is the iron distance. And of course, I'll be taking that on at Challenge Roth and Kona again. And I have the opportunity to race amazing fields here in Oceanside and on the PTO circuit. So I'll be putting my best foot forward and preparing as well as I possibly can. And I really believe that a rising tide lifts all ships, and we're going to bring the best out of each other on Saturday.
Speaking of that, when you are on the ITU circuit, talk about something that can be lonely. You've got the same little group. You're flying to Yokohama. You're flying to different places like that. There really isn't that much. The age group component is usually a different day than the pros. So you're fairly isolated. Even though you're doing this great sport of triathlon, you're in a hotel in a weird country with nobody around. When you move to 70.3 and the full distance, now you've got 3,000 age groupers and a lot of moms and a lot of people who are like you. Just you want to be the best. They want to be the best. They want to attack the course, but it's not them against each other. It's them against the course and them against themselves. So is this style of racing and traveling the world to these venues where you're meeting these really very special people, that's probably been invigorating for you.
Absolutely. I think there's such camaraderie between the professional and amateur fields. In long distance racing, we're all out there feeling the same sensation and experiencing the same things. Maybe we're going at different speeds, but those experiences and feelings are the same regardless of how fast we're going. I have so much respect for all of the competitors out there. We're really, more than anything, it's us against ourselves and the courses.
Always.
That is, the ultimate challenge with what we're taking on. And of course, we all want to win and set personal bests and achieve in that way. But I think that before you're doing that, you have to take on yourself.
Always. One of the races that I thought the Canadian Open was to me, a huge breakthrough. Just the fact that was a world-class field. Right, that was a world-class field, and for you to have the race you had there, coming from back and running your way through the field, did that give you a lot of confidence heading into the rest of your season?
Absolutely, and it was less about the kind of result of being on the podium and more about how I persisted and overcame and really feeling like myself for the first time since giving birth to my daughter. We're so in tune with our bodies as athletes that we know when things aren't quite right. And even though I'd had some kind of decent results since having Sky, I hadn't felt like that pop in my legs, especially on the run, which has always been my weapon. And that race in Edmonton was the first time where I felt like I'm kind of in control in this and I have some agency to compete in the way that I know I can. Yeah.
And you're on the podium with Ashley Gentle and with Paula Finley, and that's pretty cool because if you look at all three of you, there was a point there for Ashley, not really quite sure with the whole ITU thing and what's she going to do next. And Paula struggled for a number of years before finding the longer distance. I just think all three of you sort of found the niche that was the best for you. It was a place where you could be yourself, where you can show your talent and have supportive women around you who are excited for your success and obviously still want to kick your butt.
Absolutely. There's so much mutual respect in the women's professional field right now. A lot of us genuinely like each other, which makes things fun before and after the race. Of course, when we're out there competing, we want to win and we're fiercely competitive, but we all have a good idea of what we endure as individuals. And I think, we're cheering each other on in sport and life.
Now, have you raced here?
I raced here last season.
That's right.
I started my season in Miami and I DNF'd.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You
So
got
I
seventh here.
I
That's
restarted my season here and I got 7th, and I was so nervous for this race, and I got my butt kicked and I was totally devastated. And we were just laughing the other day because I was a year postpartum and I thought, I'm good. Everything's fine. Like, I'm 100%. And the reality was that I really wasn't quite there. And that was actually sort of a solid result for me and where my fitness was at the time. So it's just so funny to have that perspective now and think like, that was a season opener and it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not aiming for perfection right now. We're aiming for progress and for getting a mark on the board. And so that's what I'll be chasing this weekend.
It's funny. I was just chatting with Kat Matthews yesterday. And we were talking about, and she says, I've done some research on Oceanside. And if you look at a lot of people who have great races there, they don't necessarily have a great season. It's not really an indicator. It sort of says, look at Daniela Reef last year. And then a month later, she goes and kills everybody in St. George, right?
Exactly, yes.
So you use this, like you said, let's make sure my kit fits good, make sure my logos look good, make sure my shoes work well, and then we'll go and figure out where I'm racing.
And I can tell you, Bob, my kit this year,
sweet.
It's from Win Republic.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be looking good. I'm probably going to have the nicest kit on the course.
Nice.
So you heard it here first.
You've got a nice collection of sponsors. I'm very excited. It's funny when you mentioned the whole idea. This is a very selfish sport, and it can be something that, it's like, I'm getting up in the morning, I'm swimming, biking, and running, I'm spending time away from my kid, and is this something I really should be doing? But when you add in what you're adding in, when you're raising dollars for other organizations, and when you're changing lives for the better, it sort of helps motivate you in your training, don't you think?
Absolutely. I'm truly like buoyed by the community around me, of course, by the people that I work with, intimately on a day-to-day basis, but also, I'm sure I've told you how many women on the course in Kona literally were cheering for me during their own races, saying, like, do it for the moms, do it for Sky. I think that's pretty unique. I don't know if too many other women have experienced what I have on the Queen K. And so I feel like so embraced by our triathlon community and like really grateful for that. I think I have been like maybe late to find my groove, and
but you found it.
Yeah, I mean, all we really want as people, right, is to like feel a sense of belonging and like we're making a difference and contributing, and triathlon has given me that, so I'm eternally grateful.
Love it. Have a great race on Saturday, Chelsea. Always such a pleasure to see you. Congratulations on all the success. It couldn't happen to a greater person. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Bob. That means a lot.
Chelsea Sodaro has been our guest again. Breakfast with Bob. We are here at the Mission Pacific Hotel. Hold on, everybody. We will be right